we've got Lindsey German from Stop the War on the call. How are you doing, Lindsey?
Hi, Crispin. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Despite a long, cold day yesterday.
Well,
But
I'm
I'm
just going to,
fine.
so I'm just going to, don't want to interrupt, just going to bring on Stephen Kapos as well, and then I'll introduce what we'll be talking about. Are you there, Stephen?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'll just. There
Okay.
you go. Right, I see. Right. The reason why I wanted to speak to you both was what happened at the demonstration, obviously in London yesterday. There's obviously this arrest of Chris Nineham. I've got a short clip of that as well, and then we can talk about what you saw and what's happening. Now, I believe Chris was in Walworth Police Station. Lindsey, can you give us an update on what's happening?
He's still there. He's still being held. He hasn't yet been charged. We hear that it may be happening quite soon, and we obviously very, very much hope it is. There's a protest that will be assembling, that has assembled around now outside the police station, just to say that he should be released. There were several other protesters who also were taken to that police station. I think only one of them has been released. Now, some people have been released without charge, some of the demonstrators, but we do expect him to be charged. And we think the whole arrest was an absolute outrage, given what we were doing, which was that we were walking in a delegation to police lines. They let us through the lines at the top of Trafalgar Square. They said to us at the second, at Cockspur Street, just near Trafalgar Square, they let us through another, or told us to go up, and were perfectly okay. We got to the spot. Stephen was on the banner alongside me, and a number of other people, including John McDonnell. They stopped us there, and John McDonnell said, can we have a delegation to go to the BBC? To hand in flowers and to protest about not being allowed to march. And they said, well, go and talk to Superior. And then the next thing we knew, they suddenly jumped on Chris Nineham, as you can see very well from that footage. He hadn't done anything at all. If they'd wanted to arrest him, they didn't have to arrest him in that vicious way. They broke his glasses and obviously pushed him to the floor and pushed other stewards to the floor. And it seems to me, I mean, the policing on the demonstration yesterday was extremely repressive. I was nearly arrested in the morning. They kept pushing us back from where the stage was, and I said, look, I'm one of the organisers. We've got to be at the front. They said, no, no, no. And then one of the guy who was obviously in charge of that little lot said to me, final warning, on camera, if you don't move, then you're going to be arrested. I'd done absolutely nothing. The people who know me will know I'm not a young person. I'm not tall. The idea that I or thousands of other demonstrators were presenting any threat to anybody is ridiculous, really. But there is a very sinister side to it, which is that the repression of these marches is getting worse, and we have to continue to demonstrate and continue to march, and obviously defend all the people who've been arrested so far.
Chris Nineham's been doing these demos and organising marches for decades, literally. So what he knows the police. Surely they knew who he was. I mean, it's not like they didn't know who he was. Surely they would have said.
Of course, they knew who he was, and they deliberately arrested the chief steward. And as people will know, with any of these, when these things get very politicized, if people, as I'm sure many of your viewers will remember, if you remember Orgreave, they arrested Arthur Scargill. Why? Because they wanted to make a very powerful political statement, really. And this is what they did. They knew exactly who Chris was. They've worked with him. He stewarded the biggest march we've ever had, the 2 million march over Iraq in 2003. He's a very experienced steward. He's a very good steward. And he was doing absolutely nothing that should have got him arrested. And it clearly, we know from this, we've had the attempts to stop us going to the BBC on the spurious grounds that we would disturb the worship of Jewish people in the synagogue nearby, which was never on the route of the march. And essentially what the police are now saying is that what we've got is the BBC, who don't want protests outside their headquarters. Now, if this was in any other country, it would be regarded as sort of dictatorship of various sorts, that you're not allowed to go to the government broadcaster. I know they claim they're not a government broadcaster, but they are effectively. And then we have the Metropolitan Police, which is deciding where our marches go at the behest of people who support Israel, which is exactly what we're protesting about. So it's a bad situation here in Britain now, and the level of repression and the level of attempting to prevent people from demonstrating in all sorts of ways is getting much more serious.
Yeah. Stephen, you phoned me up last night to tell me about Chris Nineham because you saw it, and
Yeah.
and you spoke last week about the importance of going on this march that turned into just this kind of static demo. What's your take on what's happened?
Well, I was in the first line of the delegation because I was one of the speakers earlier on, and it was a delegation of all the sponsors of the demo plus the speakers of the day. And I was very close to Lindsey, in fact, and between John McDonnell and Jeremy Corbyn, and right in the first line. So I saw it very clearly what happened, but it happened in an instant that the police jumped on Chris, and that didn't seem to be anything he was doing, nothing whatsoever. I think he was just talking to the police, still negotiating. And I think that, as Lindsey said, it's a political, symbolic sacrifice, if you like, and nothing that he's done. And generally speaking, I've been on all the other demos as well, pretty much, and this was different, as if the police were briefed to be hostile right the way through, and it created a frustrated and chaotic and difficult atmosphere, and they were obstructing, and I think they were expressing a kind of intention that they are against these demos, and try to intimidate and create a situation where the demos are at the behest of the right-wing Zionist groups, declared hate marches and stopped. And well, of course, it's nothing like that, and we know that. And I was there more or less, because of my Holocaust survival background, and representing our group of Holocaust survivors and descendants who are there as a proof that this is not supported by the left-wing section, a very big section of Jews in the UK. And I think that the Zionist section of Jews speak for the so-called, as if there was a homogeneous Jewish community, they speak for them, ignoring the opposition, which are the left-wing Jews, who are being systematically silenced, ignored, and if they are Labour Party members, thrown out.
Yeah. Well, Lindsey, I know you're probably busy, got lots of stuff on, but I'm just wondering what could we do to support Chris and to help make sure that we have more opportunities to protest?
Well, I think we've got a fantastic movement, and thanks to everybody on your call, who I'm sure most of whom are involved in coming on the demonstrations and in protesting. We have to keep the movement going. We have to assert our right to protest against this. All right, we've got, the ceasefire is still being delayed by Netanyahu. But the truth is, whether there's a ceasefire or not, I think everybody's aware that this is only the beginning of what needs to happen to the Palestinians and to the people of Gaza, and it will take a lot more to get justice. It will take more in terms of demonstrating, it will take more in terms of boycott, it will take more in terms of all of these things. So what I would say is, we will be putting stuff out about, we will be responding obviously to the arrests and doing what we can to support everybody who's been arrested, and we will be having further actions and further activities, and please keep posted and do everything you can to show solidarity to the Palestinians. I mean, I'll just make one final point. People sometimes say, well, look, this is about Palestine and not about protest and not about what happens. But of course, you can't divorce the two, really. Why are they attacking the Palestine marches? Because politically, our government supports Israel. Politically, the main parties support Israel, and so on and so forth. I'm sure I don't need to spell that out, but we know if they succeed in limiting protest on this matter, which is a very big movement, they will also go for all sorts of other movements. So anybody who wants to have a demonstration which challenges government policy in any way will find that they're subject to the same restrictions. So, we've got a real task here, I think, in Britain. We haven't had this level of repressive policing for quite a long time. And this is a phase I think we're now going into, and we need to be very, very strong in rebutting it.